Welcome to WomanSpeak. My name is Casey Baker, and I am the founder of WomanSpeak and GirlSpeak. I created WomanSpeak because I truly believe that the time for women to share their ideas and make the contributions that they were born to make is now. We need women's voices, their ideas, and their wisdom more than ever. And I really believe that it is actually the voices, the ideas of women that is our greatest leverage point for creating positive transformation in our world. Unfortunately, so many women feel held back in sharing their voices, and I know that because I was one of them. And my own personal story with that is that when I grew up, I actually grew up in an environment where I was very much supported in sharing my voice. My dad was a big speaker, and we used to have fun making up talks in my living room at home, and then I'd go run off and run for student council and class president and things like that. But when I went into college, something strange started to happen, and this is actually an epidemic that happens amongst women in the United States. There's high levels of self-esteem for many of us as we're growing up, but as we get into higher education, we look around and we start to see in the world that there aren't that many role models or leaders out there that are women that look and feel like how we feel. And so it's hard to see reflected out in the outer world the kind of leadership that we can hold as possible for ourselves. So that was my story, and my self-esteem started to dwindle. I stopped going for big opportunities in college. And I did, however, land a big prestigious job at an investment bank, and I got into that job. However, it was a male-dominated work environment, and in those group meetings, I remember feeling really tentative and held back. That was challenging. I actually ended up leaving that job, and I traveled the world for 4 years. During that time, I had some incredible experiences of awakening to the compassion that lives in my heart for this world and the creativity and the unique voice that lives inside myself. I longed to share my story. I longed to share what I saw to be true, my ideas and my wisdom with other people, but I felt afraid. I didn't feel good enough. I felt ashamed, and I felt an enormous amount of self-doubt. The suffering was intense for me. During that time, I made an incredible trip to Israel and Palestine. I went into the West Bank, and I spent 2 weeks with a family there of a dear friend that I had met during my travels. And I became really good friends with a young woman who was my age. Her name is Jahan. During that trip, I got to see a side of the West Bank that I think probably very few Westerners get to see. I stayed with their family, and they took me in and loved me and treated me like I was family. And Jahan and I became very close. And she shared with me one night something that I will never forget. She said to me, "Casey, I dream of being able to go to an incredible university to study psychology so that I can help my people be able to deal with the anger that they feel in healthy, productive ways. I dream of being able to travel this world and see this world, but I can't actually do either of those things because I can't leave Palestine. I actually can't leave the wall that surrounds the West Bank. And so I'm trapped here. The only choice that's available for me is to marry and have children and not fulfill those dreams. I feel like I'm being punished by God." That is what she said. And it was like a bucket of cold water pouring through my whole body, the chilling realization for me, the dawning realization that because I am an American woman, that I am in every way logistically free to make my dreams come true. If I dream it, I can go and do it. However, I am held prisoner within my own mind, by my own self-doubts, by my own sense of inner limitation. And I knew that in that moment that my purpose in my life at that time was to completely free my mind so that I could be free to speak up and share my ideas and just be fully myself. So I left that incredible experience with Jahan, but I left a transformed woman. I went back to the United States, and I set on a quest for my own liberation. But I knew that somehow in this, my liberation was tied up in the liberation of every other woman. So what ended up happening was, through a lot of deep intention, I ended up for several years doing a tremendous amount of inner work. And I faced a lot of these fears and doubts deeply. I ended up going off to perform and share a lot of my spoken word poetry with people that was very political, that was very transformational in nature. And I had women come up to me as a result of that and ask me, "Can you help me? Can you help me to share my voice too?" And I was like, I think so. And so one by one, these women, and there was no money exchanged, I just did it because how could I not? The compassion that I felt was so intense. And the things that I shared with them worked. They ended up going off and feeling so much freedom to speak up more at work or to get out and share their own messages. And then one day a woman asked me, "Can you help me write a talk?" And I said, "I think so." And so we worked on a talk together, and she ended up delivering that talk and at a big event, and it set the course for her entire foundation taking off. Pretty soon after that, the word spread, and I was asked to help people deliver big TEDx talks, a TED Talk, and things just organically took off. I never would have planned for this in my life. It really was my own deep inner journey and the compassion that I felt and the gift that came forth that allowed this to happen. It's since been 6 years, and I feel deeply grateful that I've now had the opportunities to support thousands of women around this world and finding the freedom and the confidence, the natural confidence within, to be themselves and to share what they have to say. If there is any place in you that longs to speak up in any capacity in your life, whether that be at work, whether that be because you know deep inside there is something that you need to speak up for in life, whether it's also just wanting to feel more freedom to just speak up in your community, give an epic toast at a wedding, whatever it is, I designed this for you. I want you to feel totally free to be yourself and to share what you want to say in whatever situation comes through in life. I've seen what feels like some truly miraculous things happen with the women that I've worked with, and I'll tell you a few of these stories. I remember one woman named Alon McAllister, who is an incredible, she is just one of the biggest front runners in the whole movement to transform birth and empowering women in birth in our country. And when she first came to me several years ago, the woman was completely terrified. She was totally terrified to get up and give any kind of public talk. I mean, she was so scared that whenever she had to do it, she would take anti-anxiety medication beforehand called beta blockers. That was how intense it was for her. And, you know, there was a huge impact of her not being out there sharing her message because of that fear. She was the natural spokeswoman for her foundation, but the amount of exposure that foundation was having was limited because of that fear and her holding back from getting out there to share her message. Well, what we ended up doing was working on that experience of fear. And the practices that we talk about fear in WomanSpeak are unlike any other practices that you will hear about or experience in any other public speaking training out there. And they are radically effective. They will set you free forever to just get up and be yourself and maybe even have fun in public speaking. And that's exactly what happened for Alon. She got up, she was able to give her first extraordinary talk since learning these practices, and she said that she actually had an incredible time. Fast forward to this past year, she actually gave the keynote address at the Lamaze International Conference with a massive audience. She ended up with a wild standing ovation and said it was one of the most powerful, joyful experiences of her life. That's the kind of transformation that can be possible when we explore the intensity that is fear that comes up for us in public speaking. And in WomanSpeak, you're going to learn things that are just going to blow your mind. They're so amazingly effective. I'll tell you another story. I'll tell you a story about a woman who came to me who had a very simple desire. Her best friend was getting married. and she was the maid of honor, and she was going to give the toast at the rehearsal dinner. And she was terrified. She was absolutely terrified. She was not only terrified, she was felt so confused about what to say. It was more the confusion of her message and not being clear on what was the key point and maybe the story or stories that she wanted to tell. That confusion she felt paralyzed by it. She was paralyzed by the need for it to be awesome, right? The need for it to be amazing and have everybody love it and love her. That need just kept her out of touch with her creativity. Well, we use some of the practices that you can learn here in WomanSpeak of how do you cut through some of that murkiness, that fixation of the need to impress other people, and instead come back to simply saying what is true for you. Well, she learned how to do that, and she ended up giving a toast that had everybody in the room crying. They were so moved. She said it was one of the most beautiful experiences of her whole life. She felt like her whole heart was totally given in that moment, and is a treasure for her and for her best friend. Now, another situation that I want to share with you is about a woman that I worked with at Microsoft. I spoke at Microsoft Women several years ago, and one of those women came on to be one of my private clients. And the experience that she had is one that is all too common for so many women who work in environments where they're having group meetings with women and men. There is some strange, funky stuff that can come up for us as women when we are relating with men at times. There's different things that are very unique to specifically women that can come up, things that go on in our minds that have us feel tentative or resistant. We hold back, or we feel inauthentic, or it's painful. It's painful. And the impact is that then you end up not contributing in the ways that you know that you can. And that is just deeply impactful for our careers. It's impactful for our sense of self-esteem, and it doesn't serve anybody. So one of the things that we worked on was we really addressed some of the core things that came up for her specifically around speaking up and relating with men. And those are the things that we're going to talk about in WomanSpeak. We have a whole section on that so that you can feel free to speak up in any environment with anyone and just be centered in speaking your truth without apology, and to contribute in the way that you know your ideas can. So those are a few examples. There are so many more, but there are other types of struggles that we address here in WomanSpeak. You know, one of the things that comes up for us as women is the depth of self-doubt that lives inside of us. That it doesn't necessarily live in every single woman, but it's prevalent. And I know I felt it deeply, right? Doubt about the value of what you have to say. Doubt about whether it's actually going to matter. Doubt about, who are you to share that idea? Maybe there's somebody else who's already sharing an idea that's similar. Why are you any different? Why would it matter at all if you get out there and share it? Well, the truth is that it matters a lot. And in WomanSpeak, we directly address those things that can come up, that can hold us back from our speaking, or this is the other thing that it can do. It can make us inauthentic in our speaking, right? There's a very fine line between performance and authenticity. And in WomanSpeak, we are all about supporting you and just being fully who you are and sharing what it is that you have to say. The truth is, everything that you dream of doing or achieving in your life is going to require you speaking up for it. That's the truth. Whether it's speaking up to share a big message you want to share with the world, whether it is having compelling sales conversations with people, whether it is negotiating, whether it is landing an awesome interview, whether it is simply getting out there and sharing about what it is that you're creating in the world on Facebook Live or doing webinars, all of it requires you speaking up and using your voice. Our voice is the key. It's the key to making what it is that we want in our lives real. So it's deeply important that we free our voices. When our voice is held back, the impact can be huge, right? It can hold us back from the money that we know that we really want to be making in our lives. It can hold us back from the impact that we want to have in the world. It can hold us back from gathering the tribe and the community around us that we dream of having. It can hold us back from making incredible achievements at our work. It is either the thing that holds us back or the thing that sets us free. So we are here to support you in finding that total freedom for you to speak up in whatever circumstance and to speak up for whatever it is that you want, whatever it is that you dream of. So how do we do that? How do we do that in WomanSpeak? Well, let me tell you a little bit about our culture first. First of all, we believe that the culture in which a woman, the environment in which a woman blossoms is one in which she is deeply listened to and in which she is celebrated. The challenge is that most of us grow up in educational environments or spend time in work environments where there's a culture of criticism and critique, of looking at, focusing on what's wrong and how to fix it. And that never goes anywhere great. What we focus on is what is inherently perfect about what is happening right now, what is already whole, and however this woman is in this moment. And how can we support her in taking whatever is going on even higher, making it even more fabulous. That's the kind of listening that we bring in here. And that is actually real. That is not some fluffy, weird, strange spiritual speak thing that I'm talking about here. This is actually really real, and it's powerful. And it's something that I call fertile listening. It's listening for someone in such a way that they cannot help but blossom in your presence. That's what our entire culture is focused on, fertile listening. And that's the kind of listening that you will receive in your WomanSpeak circle. And then when you get up to speak, you will always get celebrated. We always celebrate each other because it feels so good. And because it also helps to rewire our nervous system so that we can start to have our body, our nervous system feel safe to speak up, safe to be ourselves, safe to take risks. And that's deeply important. That actually goes on to support you out in the quote-unquote outer world to feel safe also. We help to actually rewire your nervous system so that your system equates speaking up with safety and support. Now, the other thing that's wonderful in our culture is we're huge on standing ovations. We do them a lot. We do them all the time in every circle. So you're going to be cheering for other women. It's wonderful that you're going to receive support in this kind of way, but you're also going to be giving this kind of epic support to other women in your circle. And in this kind of environment, women bond. Women become awesome friends. That's what we see all the time. Friendships that continue on outside of our programs, because there is nothing more valuable than having women in your corner who are such a stand and support for you and going out in the world and being brilliant. They are cheering on your successes, and they know that you being successful out there in the world actually is juice for your own success. That's how the relationships work. So these are really, really beautiful friendships and communities that develop in WomanSpeak. And we want to support you. That's what we're here. We're here to support you in feeling so celebrated and so seen so that you go out there and you be fully you in the world. So what happens when you join a WomanSpeak circle? Well, if you're watching this right now, you're probably with your WomanSpeak circle leader, who is a trained leader with WomanSpeak. And you will join her circle and participate twice per month in a circle in your local community. You can join WomanSpeak at any time. We have curriculum that changes every month, but it does not build on itself. So that means that you can come in at any time and you will never be quote unquote behind. Now we have a set 16 months of curriculum that you can start again at any time. And when you complete 16 months of curriculum, you become a certified WomanSpeak speaker, which actually is amazing. It's amazing on a resume or to tell an employer that you've done this extensive training. It's also a mark of personal achievement to know that you've done this. And there's a lot of celebration and a lot of achievement that happens during that time. You'll give short talks at your WomanSpeak circles, and occasionally you'll give slightly longer form talks that you plan in advance for when you do it with your WomanSpeak circle leader. We have an extensive manual that we give to you when you sign up for your membership that is going to cover all kinds of things. It's like a Bible of incredible public speaking practices, trainings, all kinds of things that you can use now and going forward in your life when you need support in dialing in clear ideas, or for some talk that you need to write, or a presentation you need to prepare for work. We've got those all there in the guidance for you in this manual. And then you come each month, there's a set curriculum for each month, a set theme. And you will come to your class and play with your class in that theme of the month. It could be about sharing what it is that you believe. It could be about having epic, dynamic participation in group meetings. It could be telling incredible stories. Those are some of the different themes that we have. And our goal is to support you in coming out of that 16 months of curriculum and feeling totally free and confident and powerful to be able to share your voice in any situation that comes up for you in life. Now, just so you know, your membership happens every month, your membership fee, but you can cancel at any time. And if you feel it's not working for you, then you can cancel and you will not be charged the following month. So there really is very little risk to joining, and there is so much upside for you in the level of contribution and power and fulfillment you can have in your life by coming and giving WomanSpeak a try. One of the beautiful things about WomanSpeak is that when you become a member of WomanSpeak, when you pay your initial initiation fee, that initiation fee funds a young girl to go through an equivalent program called Girl Speak. So when you invest in freeing your voice, you are freeing the voice of a young girl. And we feel that that's pretty beautiful, and that moves us a lot in our work. It is so imperative now more than ever that we as women, that the young girls that are rising through in our culture feel connected to the value of who they and we are, and the value of what we have to say and what we have to give. So supporting ourselves and supporting the next generation and feeling free to contribute and to lead in whatever ways we feel called, it's deeply important. The need for this at this time in our world, it has never been more pressing or urgent for this to come through. So I want you to imagine for a moment what your life would be like if you were giving and speaking up for the things that you feel deeply called to speak up about in life. I want you to imagine for a moment what it would be like to no longer feel held back and saying what you simply need to say. I want you to imagine what it would feel like to be able to go out of our lives, go out of this world having given and contributed in the ways that we long to, and giving the gifts that we know we were born to give. And I want you to imagine what it would be like in being bold and fearless and going fully for your dreams, whatever they are, and speaking up for what you want, for what you believe in, for what you stand for. I want that for all of us. I believe that you have profound gifts and wisdom, ideas and insight that our world, our communities deeply need. And I want to support you in having the freedom and the finesse to get out there and give it authentically and powerfully in a way that captivates and moves people. I invite you to join WomanSpeak and become a part of this movement that is sweeping across the world. We would love to have you, and we can't wait to celebrate you and your voice.